Welcome to the Average Jacks podcast, and today I'm joined with a very special guest, Kerri Perdue. Hello, thank you for coming on and taking the time out of your day to join me.
Thanks for having me.
So the reason that I got you on was to get the insight to, the everyday life that you have managing, competing, and what you've done recently in the last year alongside your day job, everything like that. But usually where I start is the beginning. It tends to be the best place. So training, is it always been something that's been a part of your life?
Not really, but I've always sort of been into fitness, and I swum when I was younger, and then dabbled in like dancing, like ballet and stuff when I was little, and but it was only really when I went to uni that I started going to the gym properly. Like I'd been to the gym before and done a few sessions here and there, but didn't really know what I was doing. And then in uni I just started going to the uni gym, as you do in uni. But I wasn't really in a very good mental space when I first went to uni because I was struggling with an eating disorder. Almost didn't actually end up going to uni, but I was like, I'm going. Like I always think, when I set my mind something, I'm doing it. So started training. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was one of those girls that was terrified to step in the gym because it was, especially in a uni gym, because obviously it's really busy. Yeah. There's guys everywhere and you're like, I don't belong here, even though that's obviously so far from the truth. And just started to like fall in love with training, really. It just made me feel so much better in myself, and I just felt so much more positive from going to the gym. So yeah, I just sort of fell in love with it, really. Yeah,
it's always great to hear stories and, like people's experiences of changing like the mental side of things and how much of an impact that has, because as much as it's a buzzword and we see it a lot, how it's important for your well-being. Yeah. It is, so it's always nice to get that sort of reassured and hear an experience. But another thing that I was interested in is, when did you decide to take it seriously and consider stepping on stage?
I think really when I sort of discovered really full intensity training and how that made me feel, and feeling like I was better in myself every day, it was like I started to see more bodybuilding posts and athletes and stuff all over Instagram, and I was like, this sport looks really cool. I was like, whoa, this looks, because I love extreme sports. They've always intrigued me because I love challenging myself with things. Doing really hard shit. I like doing hard things, because it's it makes you feel like you're better in yourself every day. And then once I really discovered how amazing training to failure made me feel, I was like, I really want to give this a go. I was like, and I just sort of decided once I really clicked with training, I was like, I'm going to do this.
You mentioned there about challenging things and your degree in biomedical science as well. That's not easy either, no. I imagine. So, do you think that played a factor in wanting to get involved in training and sort of the biomechanics and the human body side of these things? Yeah,
I think in a way, yeah, because I think I've always been intrigued with human health and things you can do to make yourself feel better generally, and fitness and how that feeds into how you feel, and challenging myself with the degree as well. That showed me, challenging myself in that way, that how good I felt from doing something that's really difficult and working towards something. I get such a buzz from that. Yeah. So I think it did definitely have a part in it as well.
So being goal oriented is obviously important to you. Do you find
definitely.
You need that end goal?
Yeah, I think so, because I even found because I decided I wanted to compete in bodybuilding back in, I think I want to say 2022, 2023. So it was it was a long time. I didn't really talk much on it because it was sort of my own goal, and I didn't want to be oh, I'm going to do this kind of thing. It was it was for me something to help me get through what I was going through at the time. So yeah.
And do you think it's a bit of maybe there's a misconception around this sport and the style of training? Because you mentioned there, it was a very personal thing. Yeah. But from the outside looking in, I imagine some people find that it's quite, or perceive it to be quite a showy thing. Yeah. Was there a battle, an internal conflict with that, to be I don't want to come across like this, or I'm doing it for this reason? Did you find that at all?
Oh, definitely. I think I've always, not so much now, but I used to care way too much about what people thought, and I didn't ever want people to think that, because I've grown to realise that people in bodybuilding, I can't speak for everyone obviously, but I think for a lot of people it's a really people are so passionate about it for such a personal reason, and everyone's got obviously different reasons for competing. But for me, it was, you know, it was all about pushing myself and like pulling myself out of this hole that I was in, to prove myself that I could do that, which is why it's so important to me. And I think a lot of people have been through really horrible things, and bodybuilding is sort of like a tool that they use to pull themselves out of that. So yeah, I think a lot of people think that maybe people are really vain and that are into bodybuilding because they just see like you on stage like posing and you know, you showing off your physique, but they don't see all like the you know, the really hard stuff you go through, like through prep, even through off season, like, you know, all the work that goes into it. And yeah, I think people don't really realise that, to be fair, if they're not into bodybuilding themselves.
No, I mean, like, I can completely appreciate that. I was reading something the other day, and it was this sports athlete, and he was talking about, I think he was like in the NFL, and he was talking about winning championship rings and things, and it's not what you do, well, it is what you do on the pitch, but he was saying the building blocks of that is like the shit that people don't see.
Yeah.
And I think bodybuilding epitomises that, because, you know, it's you, isn't it? It's just you in the gym. I mean, people have coaches and training partners, but ultimately you'll get to that point where you're at home and you can be like, actually, no one's here.
Yeah.
So is that accountability an important thing for you as well, to be like, I've got this stage, I've got to get there, and not breaking away from that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's always been like, so I think that's another reason why I love bodybuilding as well, because it's like, it's not something that, you know, you're showing off to everyone. Like, because I'm not really, I quite like just being in my own little bubble, you know. I like to just, you know, I know people will probably look at it and be like, oh, well, you're getting on stage in like a sparkly bikini, do you not want like all the attention? It's like, no, like most of, like, obviously you stand on stage for what, like a few minutes? It's the whole rest of the time you're working towards that moment. Like, nobody sees that, like all like the behind the scenes. And you have to hold yourself accountable. Like, obviously I've got a coach and he's amazing, like he's helped me so much, but at the end of the day you have to really, you know, want it and like have that drive, because you work like all year round for that moment and to get to where you are when you're on stage. And that's not the main thing for people. I think it's the sport in general that's
almost like the reward to show the hard work, I imagine, when you get up there. Yeah, so like when you first booked that show and you did all this hard work and you went through it, what was that like to be like, oh shit, I'm on stage like tomorrow or this afternoon or next week? How did you sort of compartmentalize that and get ready for that? Because I imagine it's fucking daunting. Like the first time you ever do it. And, you know, you can't, I think as well in bodybuilding, what's a mad thing is you can't anticipate how other people are going to show up. You can only show up how you show up.
I think with that as well, it's like, I think a mistake that a lot of people make in bodybuilding, it's like, they you know, everyone says this, don't compare yourself and stuff, but a lot of people do, I think, when it comes to bodybuilding. Like, when you're on prep and stuff, people are looking at what other people are doing and they're like, oh, like, I tried so hard to not do that, because I know I'm not a very confident person, and don't always believe in myself, to be honest. Like I said, you know, I want to make it on stage, I want to do this for me, but I never expected anything from it, like whether that was to place or, you know, qualify for Worlds or anything like that. Yeah, I just think it doesn't feel real, like until you're actually on, even when you're on stage, it kind of doesn't really feel real, and it goes so quickly. And obviously you've worked all that time, like the years leading up to it, and then it's just like, oh my god, it's still, even now, it doesn't feel like it's happened to me. It feels like it's all been a bit of a dream.
So how long are the routines when you're up there? Like, because you obviously do posing routines and stuff. Yeah,
so like with figure, so like you've literally got your mandatories, and that takes like, I don't know, like a couple of minutes, and then you go backstage, come back up to do your routine, which is 60 seconds, and then you've got a 60-second pose down. So you're on stage for a few minutes. So it is crazy.
Months and months and months of work just for like 3 minutes on the lights.
It's crazy.
So like, I know we've talked about this a little bit, so not to put you on the spot, but there's so many categories within it. How did you choose the one that you're in?
Yeah, it's funny actually, because when I first decided to compete, I kind of just sort of default and went to like, I was like, I'm going to do bikini, because I think most people generally go straight to bikini because it's like, it's the most popular category, I think, anyway. Don't quote me on that. But usually you see, I feel like it's the biggest class. So I just thought, oh, you know, I'll just do bikini because it's just, you know, I didn't really know much about the categories. I didn't really know like what made you what category and whatever. And then I started working with my coach, and like it got to, I was probably like a year out from competing, and went to see my posing coach, and we sort of said, oh, you know, I'll just try some figure poses, because obviously the posing for bikini and figure is slightly different.
Yeah.
And my coach was just like, you look so much better in figure. So really, I think your category chooses you, and I've heard people say that, and I realised on that day, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Like the sorting hat from Harry Potter, it chooses you, yeah.
Literally, like, because it just depends on what suits your physique better. And then, like, because to be fair, what put me off figure as well was the routine. But funny enough, like, that was probably my favourite part in the end.
Yeah.
But at first I was like, you know, I could never do figure, because the routine, you've got to get up on stage on your own and do your own, like, you know, kind of like routine. And I was like, no, that's not for me. I don't have the confidence for that. And then I did it. I mean, it's crazy. And it was probably like one of my favourite parts. And I absolutely love the figure category now. Like.
Yeah. So you said there about, you know, like you look back now, it doesn't feel real and things like that.
Yeah.
What was the moment like in your first show, when obviously you like smashed it out of the park a little bit, didn't you? So what was that like to sort of turn up and be like, here I am?
Honestly, it didn't feel real. That's the only way I can explain it. Like, I thought like it's going to hit me at some point that this is actually happening, and like even days after the show, I felt like I was in this like this bubble where it didn't feel like it had happened. Like, I still now can't believe it. Like, I'll go home after work one day and I'll just see like the sword and the trophies, and I'm like,
also the sword's fucking cool. Like, there's like, you know when you're like a kid and you win a trophy and you're like, oh, that's boss, but to win a sword,
honestly,
that's so
it's
fucking
insane.
so cool. To just have a sword.
Even now I go home and I'm like, that's actually mine. That's
Is
insane.
it a legit sword?
Yeah, like it's heavy, you know. I like picked up, I was like, oh my god.
I think it's mad that they just fucking let you wield a weapon after you just won a shot. Like, here's a literal broadsword. Yeah, don't do any damage with it. Yeah, that's insane. So like, I think another thing that people don't probably anticipate is when a show's done, that doesn't mean you're done, does it? Because obviously you qualified and then went on to the Worlds.
Yeah.
How was that? Because what I wanted to sort of get into was, for most people, when you do something, you know, say you've got a fight or a race, you can very much just sort of decompress after that.
Yeah.
You sort of hit that high of doing it, being there, and you're like, oh, I can have my meal now, I can go and do this, I can go and do that. Was it very hard to sort of rebound back into prep, like going from the high to being like, actually, I can't take my foot off the gas, I've got to go deeper into it?
Do you know what? I was actually so glad, because originally I'd only planned on that one show, because I was like, one, financially, it's hard competing, it's expensive. And two, like I didn't expect to qualify for Worlds, to be honest. So when I qualified, I was like, oh my god, but it gave me more of like a drive. I was like, oh my god, like I really want to, I wanted to be back on prep. I was like, I love this, you know. And to be fair, it was only a week after my first show, Worlds, which was really nice. Like, I would have probably liked a little bit longer. So I could have, you know, my condition could have been slightly better and stuff, made a bit more improvements maybe, which we didn't have time for, because it was straight back into a peak week. Where you can't really change anything. It's just like, you know, keeping you ticking along and stuff. But yeah, it was mad. I was so ready for it though. It was nice. I kind of didn't want, I thought I would be like really gutted to not be able to like have my post-show off-plan meal and stuff, but I was like, no, like I want to, you know, I want to go now.
I imagine it's so motivating and just fulfilling to be like, all this work and sacrifice I've put in has paid off. But like, going forward, how is that expectation feel, you know, to be like, I've got to this point now? Does it make you hungrier for more?
Oh yeah. I'm already like, now obviously I'm only like a few months post show, but I'm so excited to compete again. Like, even though it's going to be a while till I step back on stage, I'm just, I can't wait. And like, because especially after going to World and seeing the standard there, it was just insane. I was looking at everyone like, oh my god, it was like, you know, looking up to people, because it's like, I didn't expect to get there. So being amongst athletes that were at that level was just crazy. Like, absolutely, it was like a privilege. It was amazing to just see that, like, the people that I was up against. I was like, you know, it made me hungry for more and to go again, you know.
That's class. And you mentioned things about like peak week there and stuff, and when you're like in the trenches of prepping for a show and like you've been doing the same thing, like probably eating the same thing, you've been doing your steps, all this and that, is it difficult to see the changes in yourself You know, like if you're looking there and you're like, just before you do your peak week, can you notice the changes, or do you think that's where the coaches are important to see what you can't see?
Yeah, I think massively. Like that's why I think I would never even dream of doing a prep by myself.
Yeah.
Like self-coached, I wouldn't do it because like your image of yourself gets so distorted. Like you think like, I don't look lean enough. Like I still look, you know, really fluffy, and like it's crazy. Like you don't. I feel like you get to. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but like for me, I just felt like I didn't really see much difference. I was just trusting my coach, which is why I'm so glad I had such a good coach. You know, because I trusted him and I knew he knew like what to do, and like, I just thought like he knows what's best. Just listen to him and I'll be fine. Because in my head I was like, this is not good enough. I don't look. You know, I'm not going to be anywhere near the standard of anyone else on stage, which is obviously, you know, not true, because then you know, went and did really well. So but at the time you just think, oh my god, like this is not good enough, and you know, but yeah, you just got to trust your coach. I think that's why having a coach is so important, especially on a prep. Do
you think there's like, I'm just thinking about it now and this has just come into my mind, do you think that there's almost like two masks to it? Like, because what you mentioned there is, you know, I think people would perceive it to be quite showy and egotistical, bodybuilding in general. And like, but you have to have that aura about you on stage, don't you? You have to be able to tap into that like confidence. But again, when you speak about it there and you talk about like letting your guard down and putting your trust into a coach, that's a very like humble thing to do. So do you think like there is a switch that you have to flick with it?
I think more than anything, really, you just have to, if you don't have that confidence, which I don't think, even to this day I struggle with, I'm not going to lie. Like I think, you know, there probably are bodybuilders out there, they are really confident, which is great. Like, you know, I envy that massively. But like, I think when I first stepped on stage, I was shaking, you know. I was like backstage like, oh my God, I don't belong here. I was like, this is not okay. But then, you know, I feel like when you actually do step on stage, especially when you go to do your routine and, you know, you've put all your hard work in and you've practiced it so much, and like, it just feels right. Like, I wouldn't say it's like confidence that comes out of nowhere. It's just like, I've worked so hard for this. I've just got to do what I can do. Like,
I love that.
I mean, I felt like I'd messed up. You know, even when I was on stage, like I felt like I was messing up a little bit. Like I'd done some of my poses slightly wrong, and you just kind of have to style it out and be like, do you know what? This is what it is. Like, just you
go
know,
with the flow of it.
Yeah.
So like, you know, we've talked a little bit about prep and stuff there, and something that I'm really interested in is like the everyday aspect of doing what you did and sort of juggling that, because I think there's probably sort of like societal expectations and stuff that, you know, you're young and things like that, not going out, not doing these things. What was the biggest sacrifice that you probably came across when you was doing this?
I'd say like, because I've always been quite a people pleaser. I don't like having to say no to people, or, you know, having to like try and explain myself, and you know, it's hard on prep because you have people around you that, you know, they'll ask you to do this and do that, and it's things that you can't do, you know. Or like even down to little things like someone wanting to call you late and like you need to get your sleep, stuff like that. Like those are probably like the biggest sacrifices. And then learning that some people, if they don't support you and they don't, you know, help you, then it's kind of like you're cutting those people off, learning that is a sacrifice you might have to make on prep. But in the same way, in a different way, like that's made me appreciate the people around me way more, because
sort of solidifies the group around you.
Yeah, it sort of made my bubble of like people around me smaller, but I realised how amazing those people are and like how supportive they are.
Yeah, that's class.
So it made me appreciate them even more than I already did, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like, I hope you don't mind talking about this. I know you mentioned it when we first got into it, but like, how difficult was it with like, you know, your history with like the eating disorder and stuff like that, to come into doing something where it's so focused around food? Do you think that like you was obviously more entwined with it because you had that in the background a little bit? I
think it's something I definitely had to be cautious of. It's, you know, I told my coach about it before we started even working together, which is a while before I started the prep. But I think the time that I spent working with him before I even went into the prep, I sort of, you know, got over a lot of the struggles before. I made sure I was in a good place, like with my relationship with food. you know, putting my trust in him again to like, you know, pushing my food up. Like that's something that's really uncomfortable for me. Like even now I struggle with, you know, I still have like thoughts like, you know, I shouldn't be eating all this food, you know, all that kind of stuff, like the guilt. But I think the more you do it and you go through the phases of like pushing up food and, you know, putting on a little bit more body fat and like getting a bit more uncomfortable, you feel like, you know, you can get, you're like, I need to do this to get to where I want to be next. So it's like, you know, you've got to do that. And it's just like about sitting with those thoughts and being like, well, yeah, it's not a nice thought, but, you know, you just have to get
like
through
disconnecting from it almost.
Yeah,
and just realising that this is a part of the process to get where you want to go.
Definitely.
So, like, obviously, you know, with prep and stuff, it is challenging, but how was it when you'd finished the Worlds and you were sort of like let off the leash a little bit? Was you excited for that and getting back into sort of everything?
Do you know
normal?
what? Initially I was like, oh, this is going to be so nice. Like I can have, you know, I can have like my post-show off-plan meal and everything. But then when it came to it, it was like, I felt a bit lost. Like I felt like I wanted to just be back on prep. It's weird because you obviously 20 odd weeks of just doing the same thing. Well, obviously I do the same thing every day now anyway, but on prep it's so much so that it's like, you know, it's such a rigid routine. You feel terrified to break away from that. So when like my coach is like, you know, your cardio's getting pulled down, like your food's going up, you're kind of like, no, like, you know, you want your routine. Like it's, you get so like stuck in your way of like getting up dead early, doing your fastest steps, your fastest cardio. It's like, it's terrifying to like pull away from that. And I think because you know as well, your body's going to change so quickly. It is terrifying, but again, in the back of my mind, it's like, well, I need to do this to improve for my next season, and it's like that is more important to me than being a bit uncomfortable now. Finding that balance between sort of the sweet spot almost of it. So you've talked there and sort of had questions here talking about like the mindset that you've got and developed from it, but just speaking to you and what you've talked about, you can see sort of what it's instilled into you and like the confidence and self-esteem that has, and I think that's amazing and like really cool. But you talked there and highlighted it. How important is routine? You know, not even if you're not like a bodybuilder and stuff like that, like how important is it to just stick to that plan and just have that structure in place? I think like it's so important because it makes you feel, well, for me personally, it makes me feel accomplished every day. And, you know, like if I didn't have my routine, I feel, for example, if I didn't eat the same, not that I'm saying everyone should eat the same meals every day and stuff, but if you're consistently eating good food, you know, you're drinking, you know, staying hydrated every day, you're getting your steps in, you're going to feel good because you're giving your body what it needs. So I think that's another thing that I love about bodybuilding. Like, I know it's obviously to the extreme, especially on prep, but I think being in a routine and doing all those things, you feel good in yourself, like mentally and physically. Like if you don't have a routine, it's all over the place, you know, like you feel like crap. Like I found like even like, you know, like Christmas time, you relax a bit more. My routine got thrown off a little bit. I felt awful for like a week after. So to me, I'm like, I don't understand how people, you know, can't have a routine and like, you know, because it makes you feel so good. I think some people don't realise like how amazing you feel when you do just stick to doing the same thing that's like, you know, good for you. You can have, you know, time off and like relax, but then I think you appreciate having the time off a bit more as well, but then it makes you like eager to get back on your routine and stuff. I think once you've found a good routine, you see how priceless it is to sort of be in that, and then you almost appreciate the break off it, but then you appreciate going back into it. It becomes very cyclical, I find, with routine. Definitely. And I imagine on the scale in which you did it, it was just astronomical in comparison to others. So, like, I think they're probably hopeful there'll be people listening to this that are aspiring, you know, like women and girls that want to do it. What were the things you wish you knew before you started? I think, like, I wish I'd sort of been a bit more, like, cared a little bit less about what people thought at the beginning as well, because, you know, that was something I always worried about. Or, again, like, people pleasing, trying to do things, like, you know, that I didn't really want to do to make other people happy instead of, you know, the things that I wanted to do to, like, remain in my routine. And, you know, I think, like, just everyone should just do what makes them feel good. Like you don't need to change what you're doing to make other people feel more comfortable or better. Like it's you know, you should put yourself first. Shouldn't have to sacrifice a part of you to keep other people happy. Yeah, exactly. Like, because if something's really important to you, then you should do whatever makes you happy, you know. Yeah, no, I love that, and it makes perfect sense. And it's probably I'm the same. I'm definitely a people pleaser, and
only as I've got like older now and got further along like this, you know, journey, whatever it is that you want to call it, is that you realise that probably the most powerful thing that you can do is say no.
Yeah.
And then them people that continue to ask you after you've said no, them are the people that want to, you know, want to be with you and want to spend time with you, and the people that you should keep in your inner circle. Because then people just fuck you off after you say no to them once.
Yeah, that's the massive thing that I've learned, definitely.
And that, how many times have you said yes to that individual, and then the one time you say no, they're like,
yeah. I think it makes you realise, doesn't it, like 100%. Who your people are.
Yeah.
And like, especially on prep, like I really realised like the people I've got close to me, like how special they are to me, and then the people that, you know, constantly question me, why are you doing that? Like, oh, that's, you know, that's like I don't want to be associated with those people because they don't bring me any joy. No. You know, they don't support me. The people that do support me and appreciate what I do, like that means everything to me, because they see how passionate I am, how much bodybuilding means to me. So I just appreciate that so much now from the people that I've got, you know, close to me. That's
class. And like you can see like how much like you love it when you talk about it, like you just like radiate with energy with it. So it's really, it's always boss to do this and sort of speak to people when you actually talk to them about the passion, because like the energy and the motivation that it gives is just so good. So like before we go, because we've absolutely flown through, is if there was 3 habits that you'd recommend to someone, what would they be and why?
I'd say one is definitely getting to the gym, no matter, you know, whether that's 1 day a week, 2 days a week, you know, like 5 times a week. I think like going to the gym and like just finding something that you enjoy and makes you feel good, like whether that's like, you know, lifting weights, whether that's just a bit of cardio, running, high rocks or whatever that, I think like just do it. Like people are so scared to do stuff like that, but it's like it makes you feel so good, and it just gives you like a purpose in life, you know. That's one thing I'd say. Another thing, I'd say sleep is a massive thing. Like, I don't want to be that person that's like, you know, get your 8 hours. But like, honestly, if I don't get 8 hours minimum every night, I'm grumpy. And I don't like being grumpy with people. It's like on prep, I hated it. Like if I didn't, like obviously towards the end of prep, like you're knackered anyway all the time. But I would literally get upset if I was like grumpy with people because I was so tired. Like, and I just don't function without my sleep. I think like people really underestimate like how important it is.
That's something that I wish like I could go back and instill earlier into myself instead of like sleep when you're dead. Like what a dickhead! Like brilliant, yeah. Like I just lost all them. But like it impacts your recovery, your gains, like everything. It's so detrimental if you don't prioritise your sleep that you might as well not do what you're doing half the time. So I think people don't appreciate everyone said like if you wrote down the benefits of sleep and was like, here's this PED that you could take, and I was like, what is it? And like, actually it's sleep. Like it's the best thing you could have. Like it's so insane when you look into it how good it is for you. Third and final one, I
would say like keeping people that bring you joy and like you know, help you along the way with something that you want to do. That is so important. Like, and just like not listen to any of the people that don't like bring you any, you know, peace and stuff. Like I'm not, sounds you know, dead cheesy, but
it's
like
true. It is true, and I always feel like things that are cheesy and cliche, they normally are that because they're right.
I love stuff like that now. I'm like, I don't care, I'm going to say it because it's so true. Like I think, you know, you do have to keep the people around you that like support you and like, you know, serve you, because
your energy is finite. Like where you channel that energy is important, and like you should, you know, fucking treat it with respect. And I think like probably a similar position to you, being like a people pleaser. You just churn it out, and then you probably get to a point where you have nothing left for yourself, and then that's how them like, because I've had my issues with like mental health and stuff, and that's probably, looking back and, you know, reflecting now as I'm older, it's probably because I've given so much away of me. I've not had anything for me. And it's like, so it's always cool to hear someone else's perspective from that. And then the final question, which is a bit of a curveball, is if there was one habit or routine that you have done in the past and you'd like to reintroduce, or you've never done it before and you'd like to introduce it into your life, what would that habit or routine be and why?
I'm probably going to go back to like training again, but yeah, I mean like just staying consistent with what you love to do. Like I think that's like so important. Like if you enjoy something, just stick with it, and like even if it scares you, like that was my thing, you know, with training and bodybuilding. Like it terrified me, but I knew that it was something that I was so passionate about doing. And you know, there was times where I was kind of like, should I do this? Like, you know, if I had people in the back of my mind sort of making me think I couldn't do it, and it's like, well, you just have to believe in yourself as much as you can. Like you're gonna have days where you don't.
Yeah.
Especially with a sport like bodybuilding, because it is like such an extreme sport and it's such a massive thing. But if you want to do it, it's like, I think it's just sticking with. If you want to do something, just do it.
Yeah.
Like even if it terrifies you, like that's what I've learned so much. Like the past like year, like you just have to do it.
That's class. And like, thank you so much for coming on today, because it's been really boss to get that insight and like clear some things up that, you know, someone who looks from the outside looking in probably wouldn't get the insight that you share with us. So thank you for being so honest and open and giving like a transparent account of everything you've been through and what you do. Good luck, you know, with like the next year when you finally get back on stage and like the off season and stuff. But before you go, let people know where they can like follow your journey, they can like find out what you're doing and stuff like that. So like your socials and stuff. Yeah,
my Instagram is Kerri_Perdue kiss kiss. That's my Instagram. I post as much as I can, and I'm not great on social media, but I try. It's something I need to improve really, and try and get a bit better with posting some more before like my next season and stuff, so people can follow my journey. Yeah,
well, I look forward to seeing it. I think you'll smash it, and it's dead good for sort of seeing the motivation and the passion for it. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
No worries.